This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Doug Amos, who now joins us, he's the host of a bunch of different shows. Max Roundtable, he does scoreboard, high school stuff on Friday, and then football Saturdays at this point. At one point, Tommy, Doug was waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning to do his television show.
Is there a worse job in broadcast or in journalism or whatever you want to call this world we live in, guys, where you're doing morning TV?
He did it voluntarily.
I mean, morning TV's got to be the worst because, like you said, it's a 2 a.m. wake up. I mean, is there a worse deal, Doug?
And the good news, boys, is it only took me 2 years to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so I'm back at it now on radio. That's where my face belongs. On radio, Ty can vouch for that. How you guys doing over there in Arkansas?
But I mean,
we're good, man.
You know, the $24,000 a year they pay to do morning TV makes it all worth it. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you know me, I'm kind of like you guys. I'm just my own little entity. So when I get an opportunity, I'll roll the dice and see how it plays out, and then reassess a little bit later on. I heard your last call. If y'all would allow me just to throw something in. Y'all got a guy coming from right here in my backyard next year, maybe even at the break, at the turn of the calendar, that's going to energize that fan base big time. It's another KJ. He wears one here at St. James. Let me tell you something. KJ Jackson is the real deal. He's starting his fourth year at quarterback, and he can get it done. I don't know what y'all have in the cupboard over there at quarterback. I honestly can admit that, but this guy's going to change the QB room over there. I'm just telling you.
Doug, you told me that his former high school coach, said he's the best high school player's ever been around, right?
The absolute best. And Jimmy Perry has been, and Jimmy Perry retired after KJ helped him win a state championship last year. This guy's coached at the highest levels in this state. Robert E. Lee, he's been on Auburn staff, and he says he's the best high school player he's ever seen. I agree. He's also a smart kid and a really good young man. I cannot praise KJ Jackson enough for what Arkansas and Sam Pittman are getting next year.
Yeah, class of 2024 to be commit. I know Arkansas fans are excited about him. Definitely. Let's talk about this game this Saturday, Doug. 11 a.m., Tuscaloosa. It's sandwiched between the Aggies this past week, an emotional win for Alabama, and the third Saturday of October. Any chance the rat poison gets to the Crimson Tide this week and they are lackadaisical early against Arkansas?
I mean, I think it could. I do agree with one of the things that Saban addressed and some people that cover Alabama addressed. I think this is one of the few teams Alabama's had since 2008 that's had a long way to go and a lot of opportunities to get better and better and better. I think most Alabama teams since 8 have kind of been already there for the most part, and there hadn't been that much room for improvement. There's a lot of room for improvement on this team, as we've seen week in and week out. So I think they're not maybe as possible victims of the rat poison as teams that maybe in their own mind and maybe even in the coach's mind, they were already kind of pretty much near their peak ability.
Yeah. Doug, when's the last time you've seen an Alabama team carried this much by their defense? I mean, I don't know how to rate this defense compared to other elite Alabama defenses, but it's pretty clear to anyone watching the last 3 to 4 weeks, this Alabama defense has awakened since that Texas game, and they're carrying this team right now.
Probably, you'd have to take me back pre-2010, probably 8 or 9. McElroy was the starting quarterback in 9, and they had some really close shaves because they weren't overly dynamic with the football, despite having Julio Jones and Mark Ingram, that they still had games where you just went, wow, man, the defense is, go look at the Tennessee game. They scored 12 points in the game at home against Tennessee. I think it's been that long, guys, but I do think something clicked because we didn't see that defense against Texas. They never laid a hand on Quinn Ewers, as far as I can remember. But the second half of the Ole Miss game, it seemed like things changed from just a schematic standpoint. It looked like they said, okay, we're not going to keep playing the Pete Golding sit-back type of defense and keep everything in front. We're going to go after the quarterback. And they went after Jackson Dart. They got after Will Rogers. And then, of course, they got after Max Johnson as well this past Saturday.
All of this talk about Saban and, he's past his prime, that everyone's closed the gap on him, the dynasty's over. How motivating is that? How much is that a media conversation, or is that a real conversation or some real motivation within those walls?
Well, I'll say this. He is past his prime. He's not where he was. The gap is close, and it is, becoming less wide because of NIL and transfer portal. But he does seem different to me. Just his press conferences. I think you can just watch his weekly press conferences, and you can sense there's a difference in him. I mean, he literally weekly would find a way to get mad at the media and send a message, and he's just different. I don't know if he's taken a Xanax prior to the press conferences or not, but, at least against Mississippi State, Miss Terry, as he said, gave him an opportunity to get on the players again. But it's not Alabama of old, but I do think that they can keep getting better and better and have a good chance to win the games that are on their schedule. Let's just leave it at that.
So 2 years ago, we saw a great matchup between Bryce Young and KJ Jefferson. And really, Traylon Burks was a massive part of that piece. Pittman went for it on that fake field goal, and it's a back-and-forth game. Doug, how does Arkansas score on this Alabama defense Saturday?
Well, I think Alabama's always had struggles with KJ Jefferson. I mean, the game you're talking about was just an absolute track meet. And I think KJ, and I know y'all are your fans and maybe your listeners are down on Arkansas. I think the BYU game was inexcusable. I think the LSU game was there to be had, as was the Ole Miss game there to be had on the road. And then, of course, what happened with A&M, kind of some weird stuff. I think A&M is extremely capable of being in this game and even having a chance in this game. Alabama has not separated itself from the teams in the West that have quality, and I still say Arkansas has quality.
So are we on another trajectory for an Alabama-Georgia collision course? A lot of people are saying it wasn't going to happen this year, but based on what we've seen through the first games, would you bet on it still being those two teams in Atlanta for the SEC championship?
Todd, I think I've shared this with you in the past. I think all of us, media, fans, coaches even, feel like teams are defined by the last thing we saw. So right up until last Saturday night, we were thinking Georgia wasn't the old Georgia. Now, after what they did to Kentucky, we think they're unbeatable again. I heard Von Baum say something like that yesterday, and I just shook my head. Alabama's defense played really, really well in the second half against Texas A&M. The defensive line got after it. Do I think Alabama can make it to Atlanta? Yes. Do I think Alabama has a leg up? Yes, I do. Do I think Georgia is unbeatable? No, I do not. So if you ask me, if you were holding a gun to my head and said who you think's in Atlanta, I would say today, on Tuesday, that I think it'll be Alabama and Georgia. But if it's not, I'm not going to be shocked. That's just my opinion.
Doug, last thing again, Doug Amos with us on the McClarty Daniel Hotline. He's the host of several radio shows across the state of Alabama. Doug, Tiger Bowl, Death Valley this weekend, not the one we had in Columbia, Missouri. Auburn, LSU, Hugh Freeze taking on Brian Kelly. How do you see that one shaking out as we let you go here?
Well, I would say this, Ty, if Auburn doesn't get the 100-yard mark in passing in this Power 5 game, they would be 0 for 4. Less than 100 against Cal, less than 100 against Georgia, less than 100 against Texas A&M. LSU's defense has been tossed all around the room. If Auburn's going to get right offensively, it's going to be against LSU, but I'm just not sure they can stop Jaden Daniels. I think Daniels is the best player in this league, not named Bowers, and I believe LSU is going to be really tough to beat when the lights come on at Tiger Stadium Saturday night.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.